Imagine a 64-year-old man who has never made his own breakfast, never washed a dish, never operated a washing machine, never even turned on a toaster. Now imagine that man standing alone in an empty kitchen, staring at a loaf of bread, wondering how he's going to survive. This isn't fiction. This is Prince Andrew's new reality. And the domestic nightmare he's about to enter is more shocking than any scandal he's faced before. The staff are gone. The butler who laid out his clothes every morning retired. The chef who prepared gourmet meals to his exact specifications made redundant. The gardener who maintained 98 acres of pristine grounds, collecting his pension and walking away. The housekeepers who ensured not a single speck of dust ever touched his collection of 72 teddy bears finished. King Charles has pulled the plug on Prince Andrew's entire support system. And what's left is a man who has spent 6 decades living in a bubble of luxury, now facing what insiders are calling total domestic hell. This isn't just about losing staff. This is about a man who literally doesn't know how to function as a normal human being. And the psychological breakdown that's coming, it's going to be brutal. Let's be clear about what skeleton staff actually means. For you and me, that might sound reasonable. For Prince Andrew, it's an existential crisis. At Royal Lodge, his life was choreographed by a small army of professionals who anticipated his every need before he even realized he had one. We're talking about a valet who would select his clothes based on the weather, the occasion, and even his mood. A chef who sourced ingredients from royal farms and prepared meals to Michelin star standards. Housekeepers who moved through the 30-room mansion like ghosts, ensuring everything was perpetually pristine. A butler who managed the entire flow of the household, correspondence, schedules, other staff, creating a seamless, invisible infrastructure around the Duke's life. Now, all of that is being dismantled. The Daily Mail reports that Andrew is in a state of disbelief, and it's not hard to understand why. For 64 years, Andrew has lived in a world where the help was invisible but essential. Meals appeared at exactly the right temperature at exactly the right time. Clothes were cleaned, pressed, and returned to his wardrobe without him ever thinking about it. The house was always spotless, the grounds always immaculate, the life always easy. That world has vanished overnight. And the man left behind? He's completely, utterly unprepared for what comes next. The psychological impact of this transition cannot be overstated. This isn't just about learning new skills. It's about the complete destruction of Andrew's identity. Think about it. Who is Prince Andrew without his staff? Without the grand mansion? Without the infrastructure that made him feel like royalty? He's just a man. An ordinary aging man who doesn't know how to take care of himself. Insiders describe him as being in shock. And that word doesn't even begin to cover it. This is a man whose entire sense of self was built on being served, being catered to, being treated as special. Now he's being told, figure it out yourself. The first morning at Marsh Farm is going to be a revelation. No one will bring him a tray with tea and the morning papers. No one will have breakfast waiting. No one will have laid out his clothes or drawn his bath. He'll wake up to silence, to emptiness, to the crushing realization that he's on his own, and the terror of that. It's real. This isn't about being spoiled or entitled, although he is both of those things. This is about a fundamental inability to cope with basic adult life. Andrew has never had to think about mundane details because someone else was always thinking about them for him. Now he has to think about grocery lists, about which cleaning products to use, about how to operate a modern washing machine with its confusing digital displays. For a man of his background, a grocery store is as foreign as a Martian landscape. The concept of meal planning, utterly alien. The idea that if something breaks, he has to call a repairman and pay the bill himself? Terrifying. Let's talk about what's really being lost here. Ritual. Andrew's entire life was built on ritual. Breakfast at 8 a.m., prepared by the chef to his exact preferences. Clothes laid out by the valet in a specific order. Tea served at 4 p.m. in fine china. Dinner at 7:30 p.m., multiple courses professionally plated. These weren't just meals, they were events, moments that gave structure and meaning to his day. Now those rituals are gone. And what replaces them? The prospect of ready meals, microwave dinners, standing in front of the toaster trying to figure out which button makes it work. To you and me, this sounds absurd. To Andrew, it's a descent into chaos. The loss of his chef isn't just about food. It's about the loss of control, of predictability, of the comforting knowledge that someone was managing his life so he didn't have to. And the butler. The butler was more than just someone who poured wine. The butler was the conductor of Andrew's entire existence, managing every detail, coordinating every aspect of the household, ensuring that the Duke never had to think about anything practical. Without that conductor, Andrew is left standing in the middle of an empty stage. No music playing, no script to follow, completely lost. Marsh Farm is where this domestic nightmare becomes real. It's not Royal Lodge. It's not 30 rooms of grandeur with 98 acres of manicured gardens. It's a farmhouse, modest, functional, small. The shift in scale is monumental. At Royal Lodge, Andrew could host grand dinners, move through vast hallways, retreat to his private study filled with memorabilia and those infamous teddy bears. At Marsh Farm, he'll be in close quarters. There won't be a chef's kitchen or a grand ballroom. There won't be separate wings or staff quarters. It's a family house. And Andrew isn't a family man who knows how to function in that environment. The logistical challenges alone are overwhelming. What happens to his massive collection of golf clubs, his art, his furniture, his 72 stuffed animals that had to be arranged in precise order every single day? Where do they go when 30 rooms become 5 or 6? And who will arrange the teddy bears now? It's a small, almost ridiculous detail, but it's also deeply symbolic. Those bears represented the level of service Andrew expected and received. Staff were trained with laminated diagrams showing the exact placement of every toy. Now Andrew will have to arrange them himself, or not have them at all. And that loss, as silly as it sounds, is a psychological blow. It's the loss of the one piece of childhood comfort he maintained into his 60s. Everyone assumes Sarah Ferguson will step in, that she'll become his housekeeper, his cook, his support system, but that's not realistic. Sarah is 65 years old. She's battling health issues, recent skin cancer diagnosis following her breast cancer treatment. She's exhausted. She's focused on her own recovery and her own career as an author. She cannot be Andrew's domestic savior. Yes, they've lived together at Royal Lodge for years in their unique, happiest divorced couple arrangement. But that arrangement worked because they had staff managing everything. Without staff, the reality is much harsher. Sarah cannot cook 3 meals a day, clean a house, do laundry, and manage Andrew's emotional meltdowns. She has her own life to lead. The dream of the Duke and Duchess living in perpetual royal comfort is over. They're both facing a future where reality intrudes in ways they've never experienced. This move to Marsh Farm is more than a change of address. It's a symbolic execution. King Charles isn't stripping Andrew of his titles. That would require an act of Parliament. But he's doing something far more effective. He's stripping Andrew of the ability to live like a prince. By cutting the financial support for staff, Charles has retired Andrew from royal life in every practical sense. It's quiet, efficient, and devastatingly effective. Andrew is being demoted to the rank of private citizen in all but name. The medals remain, the title remains, but the lifestyle that gave them meaning, gone. And the cruelest part? Charles is doing this to make room for the next generation. Royal Lodge will likely go to William and Catherine, the future king and queen who actually work for the monarchy. Andrew is being pushed out to make space for people who matter. And he knows it. The first few months at Marsh Farm will be the hardest. Andrew will wake up to silence. He'll stumble into the kitchen, confused and angry. He'll probably burn toast. He'll definitely struggle with the washing machine. He'll sit in a small living room, surrounded by a fraction of his possessions, and realize that the world he knew is never coming back. The psychological impact of this isolation will be severe. Without his staff, who were in many ways his only regular human contact, Andrew will be truly alone. No more daily interactions with the butler. No more conversations with the chef about menu planning. No more friendly exchanges with the gardener about the estate. Just silence. and the crushing weight of his own incompetence. This is the real tragedy of Prince Andrew, not the scandals, not the legal settlements, not even the public disgrace. It's this: a man who spent 64 years being taken care of, now facing the terrifying reality that he doesn't know how to take care of himself. He's entering a domestic hell of his own making. A world where he has to function like a normal person, and he simply doesn't know how. King Charles has given him the harshest punishment possible, not exile from the family, but exile from the lifestyle that made him feel like royalty. So here's the question: is this justice, or is it cruelty? Is watching a 64-year-old man struggle to make breakfast satisfying, or is it sad? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you feel sympathy for Andrew? Or do you think he deserves this domestic nightmare after everything he's done? And subscribe for updates as we watch this domestic tragedy unfold in real time. Because trust me, the first photos of Andrew at a grocery store are going to be absolutely priceless.